like to start today's service with a short message called The Eternal Now. In the beginningless, endless flow of time, each life is a mere ripple, existing only for an instantaneous moment and disappearing forever. But each life is a unique experience with beauty and truth all of its own, with no identical counterpart in history, and none absolutely the same in the future. Your life, my life, is attuned to the rhythm of the cosmos and to the heartbeat of reality. Each life exists in the eternal now. Each idea that is thought, each word that is spoken, each action that is taken changes the whole pattern of the universe, for the universe is interdependent. Think, speak, and act, then, always in the eternal now, with compassion and understanding for your own enlightenment and for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. This is selected from The Heart of the Buddha Dharma by Reverend Khenryu Tsuji.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I will forego the mask at the time. This week, it's just the two of us, Alan Goto and I, preparing this service for you. This service is being prepared for the Pasadena Buddhist Temple for May 9th of 2021. As you will, please join in chanting of the Juseige. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Dabutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Dabutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Busatsu, Daimuryo, Jukyo, Juseige, Gagoncho, Tegan, Hishimu, Jodo, Shigan, Hu, Mandoku, Teifudyo, Shogak, Gao, Muryoko, Uidai, Teishu, Futaisho, Bingu, Teifudyo Shogaku, Gashijo Butendo, Myoshocho Jippo, Kukyo Mi Shomon, Teifudyo Shogaku, Ryokujin Shonen, Joeishu Bongyo, Shigumu Jodo, Isho Teninshi, Jinrikien Daiko, Hushomu Daido, Shoujo-tan Kumyo, Kosai-shu Yakunan, Kaihichi Eigen, Meshi-kon Mo-an, Hei-sokusho Akudo, Tudaten Shumon, Kotojo Mandoku, Iolo Jippo, Nichigaten Shujuki, Tenko Onhugen, Ishu Kai Hodo, Koteku Dokuho, Jo Dai Shuchu, Seppo Shi Shiku, Kuyo Itaya Button, Kusokushu Tokuhon, Ganeshten Yoman, Tokui Sangayo, Myobuten Mu Gechi, Tudaten Mi Husho, Gangaku Eriki, Toshi Sai Shoson, Shiganya Koka, Daisen no Kando, Koku Sho Tenna, Tochin Myoke. Naman Nabu, Naman Nabu, Naman Nabu, Naman Nabu, Naman Nabu. Gani shikudoku Byodo sei isai Doden bodai shin ojo koku namanda buddhamanda namanda 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 buddhamanda namo namanda butsu namo amida butsu namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda butsu. We rely upon the source of limitless wisdom light and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Well, again, good morning, and thank you for joining us for this service and Dharma talk, which are being prepared for May 9th of 2021 for the Pasadena Buddhist Temple. And happy Mother's Day. Particularly those of you who are mothers, it being Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. One thing that I say every year at the Mother's Day service is that being a mother, being a good mother, being a good parent, can give you, usually gives you, a preliminary taste of what the Buddha saw at enlightenment. What thoroughgoing enlightenment is like is, as yet, unknown to me, but I have had the foretaste that a good mother or father or a gender-fluid parent may have. A loving mother, a genuine father, a true parent of any gender has come to care more about their child than they do about themselves. It takes Buddhist monks many years of meditation and philosophical study and reflection to begin to be able to care more about others than they do about themselves. Now, granted that fact, there are Buddhist monks who have done this, have cultivated over a period of some years a genuine concern for the well-being of others, which is more powerful than their own self-interest. There are monks like that. But there are also fathers and mothers like that. No, not all fathers are good fathers, but some of us have learned what motherhood so often teaches women, which is that there are people more important to me than continuing my own biological life is. This is the big secret, that we are connected to others in a way which involves our own identity. Our personal identity is itself transpersonal. Our relationships to other aspects of reality, and especially our relationship to other persons, is part of the process of making us who we are. We participate in one another's personhood. Ultimately, we come to discover that personhood, subjectivity, is a singularity. Now, I realize that when I say subjectivity is a singularity, it sounds rather abstract, but if I say we're all really one big person, which is the same thing, it probably sounds too concrete, a little too literalistic. But both those ways of speaking are true. The fact is that our personal identities influence one another. Who you are is partly created by who I am, and who I am is partly the result of who you are and how you interact with me. We cross-pollinate one another. We develop, to some real extent, in consonance with one another as persons. Now, the Buddhist denial of a soul theory as an explanation for personal identity is necessitated by our recognition of the fluidity of personhood. Personhood is fluid, moving. When Buddhist texts and teachers tell us that things are insubstantial, that processes are intermingled, when I tell you that one thing flows into another and cannot be separated, this all has some initial plausibility. But when we realize that this is not just things outside of us, but it's also us that's changing, us that is slippery, elusive, evanescent, the teaching becomes more personal and more challenging. It's not that there is no self. There is selfhood, Purusha in Sanskrit. But it's not just yourself. Yourself flows into myself, and myself flows into yourself. They intermingle and cross-pollinate one another. The selves who are you and your friends and family develop in consonance with one another. The self is a problem when it's too exclusively individual. Personal identity becomes a problem when it's too limited and restrictive. When Shakyamuni Buddha saw the illusory nature of a separate, exclusive self, he was freed of it. And he tells us about this in many places, including chapter 11 of the Dhammapada, which I first read in 1968, and I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. So I'll read it to you here today, if I may. Dhammapada, chapter 11, then very likely comes directly from the Buddha. For many a birth I have wandered in vain, seeking the builder of this house. These repeated births have been filled with suffering. The builder of this house is seen now. The house will not be built again. The rafters are broken. The ridgepole is shattered. I get this. You get this. We can get this part of the Buddha's message. We are not some isolated little thing like a shack sitting in the middle of a field. There's another analogy. We're in the Mahayana stream of tradition, which is very liberal and expansive. And there's a contrast with Theravada. This is a Japanese teaching that they say in Japanese Mahayana that the Theravada of Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Burma, they understand that the self is like this little house that we're trapped in. And so for them, it's like the self was made out of driftwood in this field. Here's the field, and here's the house, the self. It's been constructed out of driftwood from the field. So as the Theravada would explain it, if we disassemble it, there's nothing but the field like before. But our way, the Mahayana way, is saying this self of ours has been constructed out of reality. This house was made out of driftwood in the field. When we realize that, without taking it apart, there's already just the field. When you realize you're not separate anymore. You don't have to break anything down or tear anything apart. We are living this life together. It is one inseparable flow. It is one universal process we are engaged in. When I share the Mahayana Buddhist vision of one thing flowing into another and things interpenetrating one another, I'm sharing a profound vision that I partly sort of understand in a way. When I share the Dhammapada quote with you, something I first read in 1968, when I share the Buddha's conviction that the ridgepole is shattered, that restrictive enclosure in which the separative self has been leveled, that little enclosure that was my separate self, the ridgepole that was holding up has been shattered. It's gone. I'm sharing something that through the Buddha Dharma I have come to know. I know that I'm not an isolated, separate self. I also know that there is a self. There is selfhood, Purusha. There are selves, we are selves, which are pervious to one another. Your self is pervious to me and mine to you. My self participates in your self, and your self participates in me. It is only a permanent soul as the explanation of the self that Buddhism rejects, the Atman. The Purusha, the self, is never denied. That we are individuals, Pudgala, is never denied. The self is a system, it's a process that's part of a universal process. We are not alone. We do not live separate little lives. In truth, we are each facets of the great jewel. We are each aspects of the universal process coming to know itself. We are each like tide pools in the great ocean of life. We have individual distinctiveness, but at the same time, really, there's just one ocean. We are biological persons. And as such, we are part of a large, ultimately interconnected ecosystem. Our bodies are systems composed of subsystems. There are people, some people think they're just the brain. I tell you something, if the doctors find out a way to transplant brains, if they take your brain out of your body and put it in some other body, it's not going to be you. That's not you. You're not a brain. You are the whole. You are the process. You are the system. You are the body, mind, and heart. You are the system. You are the biological system, which is your body, and I am the biological system that is my body. I am the complex of skeletal, muscular, cardiovascular, neural systems, gastrointestinal systems. These systems are my body. You can't transplant brains. If you take your brain and put it in another body without your unique endocrine balances, without your habitual neural responses, it would be someone else. We are a system made out of subsystems and part of a bigger system. But the truth is, there's only one life. There's only one ocean. Speaking with you today on Mother's Day about the nature of our lives and our identities and ourselves. Are we real? Do you and I exist? Of course. Is your mother real? Is she still with you? Is she real? Yes. Was your mother real if she's passed on? Yes. My mother was real. Sure she was. And in her new life, she's quite real too, in my opinion. Buddhism isn't trying to steal your identity from you. The Buddha Dharma is trying to take away your loneliness. You are not alone. We are not alone. We are part of a universal process. One thing flows into another and cannot be grasped as separate. You or me, and as John Lennon put it, talking about the big thing, you are he as I am he, as you are me, as we are all together. And that is the truth. That's the Buddhist truth. That's the ultimate truth of all. We are sharing this one life together. We are not separate. We are not alone. Thank you for joining me here on Mother's Day in the year 2021. I have lost my mother. Many of you have. I believe I will see her again in some way, in some sense. If your mother is still with you, be good to her today. If she's passed on, remember how you feel about her. It is central to who you are. It's central to who I am. I thank you for your kind attention, your participation in this service, and your listening to my Dharma talk. I will close the Dharma talk portion of the service and the service itself with Gassho, a posture of respect and peace, and ask those who are of a mind to join me in saying the Buddha's name a few times. We rely upon the source of limitless wisdom and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Nabutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Nabutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much.
Here is our closing meditation for this morning service. It's from the book For the Sake of All Beings, from the Venerable Master Chin Kung An. If our every thought is of ourselves, ego attachment will worsen day by day. How then can we transcend the three realms? This is why the Buddha taught us to always think of benefiting all beings. This way, the thoughts of benefiting ourselves will gradually diminish and go away. Our every thought and every deed should be for all beings, not for ourselves. When all beings have good fortune, we too have good fortune, because we are also one of the beings. Similarly, we cannot avoid misfortune if all beings have misfortune. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you for joining us for this service, and I hope that you stay safe and be healthy, and I, for one, will follow the science. Good morning.